For the best prices and service on Pokemon TCG singles and products, check out ccgcastle.com and use promo code Evolutionaries-5 for 5% off your next order.
Hello, Pokemon fans! I'm Professor K for the Pokemon Evolutionaries, and welcome to another edition of Deck Tech Thursday. This week, I'm going to be profiling a deck that I think has a lot of potential, a lot of power behind it, and it's actually got some pretty decent results too in testing and at a couple of tournaments as well, and that deck is going to be Vikavolt Tapu Bulu. Now, this is a deck that relies very, very heavily on energy acceleration from Vikavolt, not GX, but the regular Vikavolt, given its ability, but we'll get into that a little bit more here as we show what the deck is actually comprised of. So let's go ahead and get things started. First and foremost, we're going to start things off here with 4 copies of Grubbin. Grubbin is the pre-evolution to both Charjabug and Vikavolt, and you need them obviously to start with. So Grubbin here is a 70 HP grass type Pokemon. It's got 1 attack, which is Vice Grip, and I'm sorry if you ever have to use it. That means that things are going very, very badly for you, and the game will end very soon, unfortunately for you. So there's that. It does have a 2 retreat cost, which can be a little bit of a pain if you want to get it out of the active, but we have ways of making that happen. Also, we do have 4 Grubbin, but we only have 2 copies of Charjabug. So that tells you we're going to be relying a lot on rare candy, but sometimes hard evolving is the better option. So 2 copies of Charjabug, our little insect bus here, lightning type as a matter of fact. So again, same thing. If you have to use the attacks, I'm sorry. Big, fat, heavy retreat cost of 3 on this guy. Electric Ball and Shocking Jaws are the 2 attacks. I guess Shocking Jaws could come in handy if you're able to paralyze your opponent by flipping heads. You know, it is what it is. So then we have 3 copies of the Strong Charge Vikavolt. Now, this is where this card comes in handy very well and some heavy synergy with what we're trying to do. So Strong Charge says, once during your turn, before you attack, you may search your deck for a grass energy card and a lightning energy card, and then attach it to your Pokemon in any way that you like. Then shuffle your deck. Now, one thing that's important to note here is that these all stack. So if you have 3 Vikavolts on the bench, you can take 2, and then 2, and then 2. So it's really powerful for energy acceleration out of the deck, and we have ways to put the energy back in as well. So that's also worth noting. 3 copies of that card, and it does pretty well. Now, not only do we have 3 copies of Vikavolt, but we also have a single copy of Vikavolt GX, 240 HP, 3 attacks, Charge Beam, 50 damage, and you attach an energy from your discard pile to this Pokemon. Again, energy acceleration out of the discard pile this time. Super Zap Cannon, 180 damage for a lightning and 3 colors energy, and you discard 2 from this Pokemon. Again, discard 2, bring 2 back. Discard 2, bring 2 back. And then all of a sudden, you've got pretty much a 3-attack game. Gigatron GX, this attack does 60 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. And you don't apply weakness and resistance for the benched, unless, of course, you're playing Wide Lens, like my buddy Russell did at one of the regionals. So Vikavolt is your 4th alternative here for your Vikavolt line in general. This is your support Vikavolt, and this is your attack Vikavolt. The attacking Pokemon, for the most part in this deck, is going to be Tapu Bulu GX. Tapu Bulu GX has 3 attacks as well, 180 HP, big bulky for a basic. Got 2 attacks. Horn Attack, a single grass, does 30 damage. Nature's Judgment does 120 damage, plus if you discard all the energy from this Pokemon, you do with this attack, you do 60 more damage. So 180 by discarding everything. Again, not a big deal because we have ways of bringing energy back out of the deck. Also, we've got Tapu Wilderness for its GX attack, 150 damage, and you heal all damage from this Pokemon as well. So you hit really hard with this guy, and you're able to bring the energy back up. Horn Attack is actually a really good first attack, especially if you're going against something like, I don't know, a Froakie. It definitely hurts Froakies. We'll knock them out if you go first. If they go first and you go second, you can knock it out due to weakness. Speaking of weakness, Tapu Bulu, no weakness. So fire types will not hit this thing for super effective damage, not ×2, only ×1, no weakness on the Tapus at all. So that's really cool. It does have that big bulky 3 retreat cost as well, but that might actually come in handy. Same with this one. So we'll see a little bit more about that in a moment. We also have 3 copies of Tapu Bulu GX, not only because of its ability, Wonder Tag, being able to search a supporter card out of our deck and put it into our hand, but also because Energy Drive is a really good attack, and when you can accelerate energy like this, you can turn that 20 times damage into a lot very quickly. So it's a great support Pokemon. It's also really good at attacking too if you're not able to keep Bulus going or Vikavolts going or whatever the case is. These are your 3 main attackers right here. Otherwise, Lele, Bulu, and Vikavolt. Also no weakness on Lele either, so they're gonna have to hit you for a solid 170 or 180 to knock these 2 out. So that's going to do it for our Pokemon lineup. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and get into the supporters. So for our supporters here, we have a bunch. We've got 4 copies of Professor Sycamore. Being able to discard your hand and draw 7 is still good no matter what. Getting 7 cards in your hand, definitely a good thing to have an option to do. Even in a deck that you don't want to discard a lot, it's still good to play at least 3, if not 4 of them. We also play 3 copies of N here as well. Each player shuffles his or her hand into his or her deck. Then each player draws a card for each of his or her remaining prize cards. Again, I think this deck needs a minimum of 3. For the most part, you're not going to be taking super fast prizes. You're probably going to have to sit and wait at least 1 or 2 turns before you're fully set up and ready to go. So N can be good for limiting the amount of cards your opponent gets to draw back as well. We also have 2 copies of Lysander here. Bringing something up off the bench into the active is always good, especially when you're able to hit it for 2 prize cards back in return. That's always good. We have a single copy of Bridget here, which says search your deck for 1 basic Pokemon EX or 3 basic Pokemon, except for Pokemon EX, and put them onto your bench. Shuffle your deck afterward. So this will actually grab a number of things. Number 1, you put it straight onto your bench, so you don't want to grab Lele with it. You can, but you don't want to, because Wonder Tag won't activate unless you really want Lele on the bench as an attacker like that with no ability to get your supporter. Then that's fine. Otherwise, you can actually grab Tapu Bulu GX because it only says Pokemon EX. And you can also grab your Grubbins here as well. So you can grab like 2 Grubbins and a Bulu if you really wanted to, or a Grubbin and 2 Bulus if you really wanted to. Either way, it's pretty darn good, and of course it does have to be basic, so these are not in play whatsoever, none of these, but your Grubbins and your Bulus are, and your Leles if you really wanted to. So since we're already playing 3 copies of Lele, it doesn't hurt to have that 1-of copy of Bridget. Same thing to be said for Olympia here as well. Switch your active Pokemon with one of your benched Pokemon. If you do, heal 30 damage and from the Pokemon that you return to the bench. Again, good way to switch out, good way to heal, not too bad there. Also, we have 1 copy of Skyla. Search your deck for a trainer card and reveal it. Put it into your hand, shuffle your deck afterward. It could be a supporter for the next turn. It could be an item card you need right now. Whatever it is, it's a trainer card. You can just grab any trainer card you want, put it into your hand. Our last supporter here is a single copy of Brock's Grit. This deck does discard a lot of energy. As you can see, Super Zap Cannon throws 2 energy away. Tapu Bulu's Nature's Judgment throws away 3 of them. We need ways to get back our energy into the deck, and sometimes you run out of Grubbins and Charjabugs as well, so this also puts back Pokemon. So any combination of 6 total between Pokemon and energy, up to 6 if you have it, back into the deck. So it's a really good supporter card for this deck, being able to get back that energy and your Pokemon if you should need to do so. So I think running this many Lele, a Brock's Grit will work out very well for you. Okay, into our items, we have the standard, well, pretty much standard, because some people play 3. 4 copies of VS Seeker. Search, put a supporter card from your discard pile into your hand. I was going to say search your discard pile. You don't really have to search your discard pile, you just put one from there because you're not searching. Very wrong choice of words on that one. Next up, we have 4 copies of Ultra Ball. Discard 2 cards from your hand. If you do, search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your deck afterwards. So this is how you're going to grab pretty much any Pokemon that you want for the most part. There are some exceptions to that we'll be able to grab in other ways, but we'll get to that momentarily. Again, discard whatever you want and get a Pokemon. Also, we have 4 copies of Rare Candy, because we have a 4-2-3-1 line of Vikavolt. Rare Candy is going to be the way we're going to be able to get up into these higher evolutions much easier than relying on Charjabug. We can obviously hard evolve if we need to, but if we want to go straight from Grubbin to Vikavolt, as long as we have Vikavolt and Rare Candy in our hand and we didn't just put down Grubbin for the turn, then we can evolve straight into our stage 2 evolutions and speed things up very much so. Very glad to see these Stage 2 decks coming back to life. Definitely missed that over the big basics. All right, we also play 2 copies of Heavy Ball. Search your deck for a Pokemon with a retreat cost of 3 or more, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Shuffle your deck afterwards. So, by grabbing Heavy Ball, you can Skyla for Heavy Ball and grab Vikavolt or Tapu Bulu, because they have retreat cost of 3 or more. Actually, Charjabug as well, now that I think about it. You can grab Charjabug, Vikavolt, and Tapu Bulu with Heavy Ball, and you don't have to discard anything. You just go and grab it. So that is a good addition to this deck as well. All right, we also have 2 copies of Choice Band, because Choice Band is really good. Obviously, it by doing 30 more damage, Super Zap Cannon turns into 210 by discarding 2 energy. Nature's Judgment turns into 120 plus 60 if you discard them all, and then 30 more, that's 210 as well, hitting for a lot of big numbers. Tapu Lele with this ability here to bring energy over. I mean, if we already have 2 attached, we throw 2 more on there, 20, 40, 60, 80, 110 plus whatever your energy is attached to your opponent. It hits pretty hard in lieu of anything else. Charge Beam goes up to 80, Horn Attack goes up to 60, Tapu Wilderness goes up to 180, and Gigatron will do 90 to the active and 60 to everybody else. So it's a good card to have when you're playing against GX decks. Or EXs for that matter. All right, we also have 2 copies of Floatstone, because again, we've got some high retreat cost Pokemon, and sometimes your opponent's not going to be able to do anything, but they just want to stall you. So they're going to Lysander up something like a Tapu Bulu or a Vikavolt that just, you got to retreat somehow. The best way to do it is with Floatstone or Olympia, either way, but it gives us some options to prevent the potential Lysander stall. We also have a single copy of Field Blower. Choose up to 2 of any combination of Pokemon Tool cards and Stadium cards in play, yours or your opponent's, and discard them. I originally had 2 in the list, but I cut 1 for the Brock's Grit. You can kind of play with the list and see what you feel like. Personally, I think 1 is fine. We're not really too concerned about what stadiums are in play or what tool cards are attached for the most part. Like, Choice Bands hurt, obviously. They're going to hurt these 3, but it's not a necessity to get rid of them so much as anything else. We also have 1 copy of Energy Recycler. Shuffle 5 basic energy cards from your discard pile into your deck. This is another way to get energy back besides Brock's Grit. You're able to get basically up to 11 energy back into the deck again if you wanted to go that route. Obviously, you're going to get Pokemon as well with Brock's Grit, but it really just provides a constant circle and stream of being able to attack, discard the energy, strong charge, search your deck, get the energy, attach, discard. Okay, we're out of energy. Go in here, Energy Recycler, 5 of them back. Brock's Grit them, however many we want back in the deck as well. It just keeps everything in a very good pattern and keeps things rolling and keeping things smooth. All right, on to the energy counts. We only have basic energy in this deck. We run Lightning Energy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Lightning Energy. And then for grass, we run 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that is the deck, guys. Do with it what you will. This is a rough build for me for the most part. Like, I haven't had a ton of time for testing it, but I feel like this is probably a solid list as is based off of prior experiences of playing with the deck, playing on PTCGO and things like that. I like the list a lot the way it is. I'm a little iffy on the Skyla. Maybe you might be able to find something else to replace that with if you choose. But Skyla can be really good because we can Skyla for rare candy if we have the Pokemon in our hand. If we have the Pokemon in our hand, we can Skyla for Heavy Ball or Ultra Ball and get the back end. So, I don't know. Skyla, I think, is a 70% stay, but maybe a 30% that you don't. Either way, I don't know. I don't really think there's anything else you could add to this to make it much better or much more consistent. Maybe you want to add a third choice band somehow. I don't know. You can mess with it however you like. This is just an idea of what you guys can build. It's a list that I like the way it is, but you guys can change it however you like it. By no means will I ever say that every deck, any or every deck that I build is going to be the absolute best it can be. So that's what we make them for. Just to give you guys a general idea of where to start from. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today. That is it for our Vikavolt Tapu Bulu GX deck. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button, comment down below, subscribe for more TCG content, and stay tuned, not tomorrow, but next Friday to see this deck in action against whatever N decides to build, and let's see if we can keep our winning streak alive. So with that being said, guys, we hope to see you next time. I'm Professor K for the Pokemon Evolutionaries. You all take care. Have a great day.